a natural wonder. They are home to unparalleled ecological, economic, socio-cultural, and spiritual wealth. However, preserving this heritage while fostering sustainable development is a challenge that requires collaborative efforts. Hum, an initiative of the Sri Sri Rural Development Program Trust of the Art of Living, works across four thematic areas: ecological, economic, socio-cultural, and spiritual heritage to empower communities and preserve their natural and cultural assets. Through partnerships with 114 NGOs, HUM implements impactful programs such as digital literacy initiatives, waste management drives, skill development, water conservation efforts, creating sustainable solutions at the grassroots level, livelihood and circular economy, vibrant and border village development initiatives, etc. Today's session is dedicated to enhancing our collective capacity for impactful action by focusing on one of the most critical skills for NGOs and development professionals: proposal making. Effective proposals are the backbone of mobilizing resources, forging partnerships, and scaling meaningful initiatives. We are delighted to have you all here and are confident this session will equip you with valuable tools to further your efforts in making lasting impact in the development sector. Welcome on being part of this journey. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce to you my teacher, Dr. Surabhi Yadav, a PhD holder in CSR with a background in academic research. She's a certified CSR professional and a master trainer from the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. She is a certified evaluator of social programs by JPAL and an expert in strategy and sustainable enterprise by IIM Bangalore. She is also a certified professional and practitioner in the field of GRI and BRSR. Additionally, she is also a certified independent director with nearly a decade of experience in CSR policy, compliance advisory, and corporate and NGO capacity building. Dr. Yadav actively engages as a CSR compliance and policy expert, mentoring various entities, including NGOs, corporates, and social enterprises. She has trained multiple professionals, including senior government officers, CSR heads, and founders of corporate foundations, auditors, CAs, project development implementing professionals. She has hands-on experience on M&E models and impact assessments. She has developed courses on CSR and sustainability. Dr. Yadav strives to foster collaboration among governments, corporates, civil society, entrepreneurs, academia, and communities for impactful, sustainable, and need-based social change. Beyond her sectoral achievements, she ardently supports women's empowerment and advocates for diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI). Serving on the Prevention of Sexual Harassment POSH Committee, Dr. Yadav exemplifies a commitment to social development and dedication to uplifting others. Welcome, Dr. Surabhi Yadav.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anjuji. Namaskar, everyone, and thanks for such a humbling profile. Description, ये हमें शेयर करना पड़ता है जब हमसे मांगा जाता है कि अपना प्रोफाइल दे दीजिए अप्रूवल्स के लिए, but to hear it all is really humbling. But yes, I'm very passionate about what I do, and I can see a lot of familiar faces here in the audience. Welcome, all of you. Some have been part of the part one of the session that we had with Hum, and some have been part of the other programs that I am part of. So good to see all of you over here once again. So to begin with, today we are going to talk about CSR proposal making. That's the agenda, how to make a good proposal. But I would like to understand, because last time when I came, I remember we had core members of the hum at that point of time on that day. And if I am correct, beyond the 100 people that would have here, it is also live streamed on YouTube, right? So I would like to understand how many of you did attend the last session that we had sometime in August, I believe. If I can
Yes.
just see the raised hand, maybe a thumbs up or something, and we can gauge how many of you have been there. So if you have beer past, oh, great Akansha, Chaitanya, I can see you. Hello, Chaitanya. Hope you're doing good. Dr. John, great. Okay, I can just see few hands over here though. And as I said, I can see few of the participants from the other programs that I'm part of. They're also here with us. So I know they know a lot of things, right? Because we have been discussing it so long. But I would like to start from the very beginning. Okay, no worry, Dr. Borean, that's absolutely fine. That should not be an issue. What I'll do is, if all of you are here, I do understand you are part of the sector, you are part of the industry. You are definitely aware about at least some of the frameworks and all of that which is there. Okay, before I move, should I go in Hindi, English, or a mixed bag? Any comments on that? Anjuji, what do you suggest?
A mixed bag would be a good bet.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, okay, as last time, English, mix, Manjula, okay. So there are a few comments also. The law part, I'll try to do in both the languages. However, for keeping the flow, I may go in Hindi, I may go in English. Mix is a preferred language, more English, less Hindi. Okay, Pavanji, I'll try to do that. But as I said, the PPT is in English, though there's not much of PPT as such, and there will be more of talking. But I'll try to focus when I'm talking more about the law, more about the compliances, more of English. Sure, Sachin, I'll try to do that. Okay. So to begin with, I'll start from the very beginning. Little recap of what we did in the last session. In the last session, we spoke about how the law came into being. I'm not going into history today, though, and what has happened in the last 10 years, how it has evolved, and what are the mandatory components over there? What are the compliance elements over there, which are very, very important for each of one of us to understand? Because without understanding the framework, we would not be able to make a proposal. So to have a proposal, to have a constructive proposal, which we can share with the corporate, you need to have a fair understanding of the CSR sector. So, okay, today the session will be focused on the grant proposal specifically for the CSR funding. Having said that, there can be other proposals also. There are other areas also where corporates are funding now. And there are a lot of philanthropic institutions which may not be following the CSR guidelines over there. So their vision, I would say, or objective is a little more broader because they are not compelled or restricted with the law. But today we'll be talking specifically about the CSR proposals, how to draft a CSR proposal, राइट? तो फोकस हमारा आज रहेगा सीएसआर प्रोजेक्ट प्रपोजल्स के ऊपर, और सीएसआर प्रोजेक्ट्स कैसे बनाने हैं, प्रपोजल कैसे बनाना है, वो समझने के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि हम सीएसआर लॉ को समझें कि लॉ क्या कहता है। बिकॉज कॉर्पोरेट के भी हाथ बंधे हुए हैं। जब आप जिसके पास जा रहे हैं फंडिंग के लिए, उसके भी हाथ बंधे हुए हैं लॉ के अंदर। तो उसको भी वो फ्रेमवर्क्स, वो स्ट्रक्चर्स फॉलो करने हैं जो लॉ ने बनाए हैं। सो even the corporate cannot go beyond section 135 of the Companies Act, which is the CSR law. So just to give a little recap of what we did, and just I'll go through the few of the slides which we covered in the last session. So it's been 10 years of CSR law. The law on CSR is Section 135 of Companies Act 2013. The law came into being on 1st of April 2014. So this is to 2024. More than 10 years has passed ever since the law has come into being. As of now, there are nearly 24,000 to 30,000 corporates who come under the ambit of CSR in 2014. Total number of NGOs which are registered under the open portal are the NGOs who are the one which can take CSR funding, right? So this is 2 lakh plus. In fact, today morning I checked. So this data is, I think, 4-5 महीने पहले का data है. August में when I came again, it was showing 2 lakh plus. Today I checked, it is 2,71,000. So this data is going up. Implementing agencies जो हैं वो बढ़ती जा रही हैं, तो जो फंडिंग ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कॉर्पोरेट्स हैं वो तो 24,000 से 30,000 की रेंज में है, वेयर एज जो एजेंसीज ये फंडिंग चाह रही हैं वो 2.5 लाख से ऊपर जा चुकी हैं. More than 2,50,000 NGOs are registered on the Arpan portal as of today, which is going to go further up in next 1 month's time. You may check again sometime in January and February, because now RBI guidelines have also come up that for opening a for opening a bank account, an NGO needs to be registered on the Urban portal. So this is a latest change that has come up. So all the NGOs, whosoever are here today, if you are registered on the Urban portal, very good. If you are not registered on the Urban portal, go and get it done. And even if you are registered, then further KYCs would be coming in very shortly, where you'll have to fill much more details now regarding the Urban portal, right? Moving forward, total spend, this spend again, we would come to know for 2024 at the end of March, after March 31st. So this data stays as it is. The data that I'm sharing with you is expected data by 31st of March 2025. So it's supposed to go beyond 200,000 crores. So which is again a very, very huge data. तो फंडिंग तो बहुत है मार्केट में, कॉर्पोरेट्स भी बहुत हैं, उनको टैप कैसे करना है वो हम आज थोड़ा समझेंगे. कोशिश करूंगी मैं अपनी तरफ से. I'll not go into history कि how law came into being. Just to broadly understand, as I said, the law came in 2013, was implemented on 1st of April 14. It's the 10th year. Basic premise क्या है law का? What does the CSR law talks about basically? So basically the law is talking about the corporates who have to give back to their society in terms of money, so they have quantified the money और कहा कि भाई ये set of corporates हैं जिनको कि CSR spending करनी पड़ेगी. So to give you a brief about it, crux of the law, section 135 of Companies Act says, talks about the companies who have to give back to the society. So they have identified the qualifying companies on the basis of net worth, turnover, and net profit. तो लॉ ने कहा है कि any corporate whose net worth is more than 500 crore, turnover is more than 1,000 crore, or net profit is more than 5 crore, these are the corporates who falls under the ambit of CSR. Excuse me. So if you look into these qualifying criteria, you'll see the net profit of 5 crore or more, which means even a small SME may come under it. Today, 5 crore is not a very big amount. We all know that, right? So a lot of SMEs are also coming under the ambit of CSR. And every time I take any session everywhere, I talk about this 5 crore wala corporates, because ये सबसे easily approachable corporates होते हैं. इनके पास budgets होते हैं. Budget may be very small, maybe 1 crore, 2 crore, 5 crores of budget. 5 crore भी नहीं, 1 crore से भी कम के बजट, 2 crore से कम के बजट वाले भी बहुत सारे SMEs हैं. So we should tap them. हम जब भी proposal की बात करते हैं, हम जब भी reach out की बात करते हैं, we usually focus on the bigger corporates and we forget these smaller ones. So these smaller ones, you should keep an eye on them. आप जहाँ पे भी हैं, जहाँ भी आपका geographic location है, वहाँ आसपास भी आप identify कीजिए कि कौन से corporate exist करते हैं. तो जरूरी नहीं है कि हम सारे टॉप 100 कॉर्पोरेट्स जो हैं, 300 कॉर्पोरेट्स जो हैं, उन्हीं का डेटा भी आता है. अगर आप किसी भी रिपोर्ट्स को पढ़ें तो टॉप 100, 200, 300 का ही डेटा आता है. बट 24,000 कंपनियां हैं. देयर आर मोर देन 24,000 कंपनीज. There are not only 100, 200, 300 companies. So any data that you see on web, after this session also, you can Google and find any data. You will find it is usually concentrated around top 200, 300, 500 companies only. But I'll repeat, there are more than 24,000, 25,000 companies under the ambit, and don't forget that. So keep your eyes open. They are a good source of funding for all of us, especially for the small NGOs. They can be a very, very good source of partners. So the law talks about the qualifying criteria. So these are the companies, who falls under the ambit of CSR. So Even if my profit is more than 5 crore, I come under the CSR ambit. Now what happens? Once I qualify for the CSR, what do I have to do? So any company who falls under any of these criteria have to spend at least 2% of the average net profit made during preceding 3 financial years. So usko mota mota, if I'll tell you broadly, any company which qualifies for CSR has to spend 2% of its profit into CSR activities. Okay, now how do they decide how to spend, where to spend? This is done by the CSR committee. So every company which qualifies under any of these three criteria have to spend 2% of the profit into the CSR activities, which are mentioned under Schedule 7. Schedule 7 is the list of activities where the corporate has to spend their CSR money. And this decision is taken by the CSR committee of the board. So every company has a, which qualifies under the law for CSR, has to comprise a CSR committee. So, and this committee comprises of 3 or more directors. Now, this committee is the one which decides how to spend, where to spend, which geographic locations to spend, which thematic areas to spend, who can be my partners. So basically, सारे decision CSR committee of the board लेती है. ये डिसाइड सबसे पहले तो ये सीएसआर पॉलिसी बनाती है कंपनी की. सीएसआर पॉलिसी जो होती है ये वो डॉक्यूमेंट है विच टॉक्स अबाउट geographic location, which talks about the budget, which talks about monitoring evaluation criteria, implementation कहाँ करना है, हम खुद से करेंगे, हम फाउंडेशन सेटअप करेंगे, फाउंडेशन के थ्रू करेंगे, हम थर्ड पार्टी एनजीओ जैसे हम सब हैं यहाँ पे, हम थर्ड पार्टी एनजीओ के थ्रू इम्प्लीमेंटेशन करेंगे. So these things are decided by the CSR committee of the board. And the guidelines are laid in the CSR policy by them. So again, make a note. I forgot to ask all of you to have a pen and paper, but I'm sure people who are here to understand certain concepts would be carrying a paper and pen. If not, just take out a piece of paper and pen and note down these points that I'm talking about. The first thing is the CSR policy of the company. So whichever corporate you're trying to reach out, उनकी website पे जाइए, वहां से उनकी policy download कीजिए. So policies of the corporates are uploaded in their website. You can easily download them. You can study them and see which are the geographic locations they are willing to work, which are the thematic areas they are willing to work. Is it health, education, livelihood, environment, disaster? So most of the time it's mentioned over there that which are the core areas that company is willing to work. Beside this, you may also note down website csr.gov.in. Somebody can write it on the chat box as well. That would be helpful for others. csr.gov.in. So this is a government website. Thanks, Udit. Thanks, Chaitanya. So it's on the chat box. You may make a note of this. Go through this website. You know, this website, you may go and you can study about various corporates which are over there. If time permits at the end, I'll take you to the website. But if not, then do visit this website if you're really interested in funding. Go visit that website, find out about your corporate, find out about the area you are in. You can find state-wise, district-wise spend of the corporates. So government has actually facilitated that. You can find out कि आपके डिस्ट्रिक्ट में कितना स्पेंड हुआ है सीएसआर फंड. कोई आपके आसपास अगर कॉर्पोरेट है उसके बारे में भी आप जान सकते हैं कि उसकी स्पेंडिंग कितनी रही है प्रीवियस ईयर्स में. आई थिंक 22-23 तक का डेटा है वहां पे. So you can find it out from there that which are the areas this corporate is working on. How it is beneficial, we'll talk at the end when I talk about proposal making कि ये कैसे हम collate कर रहे हैं. These things are very, very important to understand before you jump to the proposal making. So these are the frameworks around which the proposal will be made. Okay. So now we have the companies which qualify for CSR basis their net worth, turnover, or profit. Once they fall under the ambit, they have to take out 2% of their average net profit, which they made in last 3 years. The CSR committee of the board is being formulated. This CSR committee makes a policy. पॉलिसी में वो डिसाइड करते हैं कि हम किस किस एरिया में और किस किस थीमेटिक एरिया में कितना बजट स्पेंड करेंगे, किसके साथ स्पेंड करेंगे, और ये पॉलिसी वो अपनी वेबसाइट पे अपलोड करते हैं. They have to upload it in their website. They have to share it in their annual reports. Also, the policy is being shared in the annual reports as well. So this is the first premise or first set of instructions or guidelines that are given by the under the section 135. Moving ahead, Okay, so these are the guidelines, and then this is the Schedule 7. So I asked you to write a one word called policy. I asked you to write csr.gov.in, the website. You may also write Schedule 7, though I am sure many of you are aware of what Schedule 7 is. But yes, still write Schedule 7. We are also expecting certain changes in Schedule 7 in next few months. Let's see how it goes. इसमें काफी एडिशंस होते रहते हैं, काफी चीजें ऐड ऑन हुई, जैसे कोविड के टाइम भी कुछ चीजें ऐड ऑन हुई, एंड वी आर एक्सपेक्टिंग कि इसमें और चेंजेस आएंगे. सो again, this is very important for proposal making, because when you make a proposal you need to identify that which is the area which you are catering to. बिकॉज आप प्रपोजल बना रहे हैं तो या तो एजुकेशन का होगा, या हेल्थ का होगा, एनवायरमेंट का होगा, लाइवलीहुड का होगा, वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट का होगा, आर्ट एंड कल्चर से रिलेटेड होगा. तो किस एरिया से रिलेटेड है वो प्रोजेक्ट, क्या वो हमारे शेड्यूल 7 में है? सो हमें ये मैपिंग करनी बहुत जरूरी है. ये समझना कि जो हम करना चाह रहे हैं, जिस एरिया में हम काम करना चाह रहे हैं, क्या वो शेड्यूल 7 में परमिसेबल है. दैट इज नंबर वन. नंबर टू, अगर शेड्यूल 7 में परमिसेबल है तो मैं जिस कॉर्पोरेट के पास जा रही हूँ प्रपोजल लेके, क्या उसकी पॉलिसी में ये है? आर दे ओपन टू इट? Because I'll be giving you examples also. Many a times it has happened that the NGO comes up to the corporate with a proper policy and everything, with a proper proposal, and then the corporate says, sorry, we are not working in this geographic area, or sorry, we are not working under this thematic area. For example, this year, most of the corporates, public sectors, they have been asked under DPSC guidelines that they have to spend around 60% of their CSR funding into health projects. So most of the public sectors were looking for good health projects. So we have to keep an eye on all these kind of information which are there in the market, कि कहाँ spending करनी है, what is the trend that is going on, what is the policy that policy is talking about, corporate की policy में कौन से areas पे focus उनका ज़्यादा है. So we have to keep an eye on all of that. And of course, Schedule 7 is one of the most important document we need to refer once we prepare the proposal. Going forward, again, I'm not going to cover this broadly. CSR जब कंपनी करती है तो कंपनी खुद से भी कर सकती है. जैसे रिलायंस इंडस्ट्रीज हैं, काफी CSR वो प्रोजेक्ट्स खुद करते हैं. रिलायंस फाउंडेशन है, उनका अपना फाउंडेशन है, दे डू इट थ्रू देयर ओन फाउंडेशन. Howsoever, corporates are permitted to do it on their own, through their own foundation, through a third party NGO, like most of us here are. They can also do through the government bodies, which are specially set up by the parliament or the state or central government. We'll not talk much about them as of now. Let's focus majorly on the third party partnership that the government can focus on, which most of us are, as I said. So any third party NGO, third party are the NGOs which can be registered trust, an 1860 society, or a Section 8 company. So most of us, I'm sure, belongs to this. Now the basic premise again here is, beside being either a trust, society, or a Section 8 company, this external vehicle has to be minimum 3 years old. आई रिमेम्बर लास्ट टाइम मुझसे आप में से कुछ लोगों ने कहा था कि मैडम हमें बस 2 ही साल हुए या 1 साल हुआ है, अभी वी आर नॉट क्वालिफाइंग फॉर CSR फंडिंग. दैट्स ओके. That's absolutely fine. Start working on your systems, start working on the corporates that are there, start taking up small projects, start partnering, start volunteering, because 3 साल कब निकल जाते पता नहीं चलते. मेरे को सेक्टर में 10 साल हो गया है. Believe me, 6 years back, I was just thinking कि क्या मुझे भी NGO बनाना चाहिए या नहीं बनाना चाहिए. But I never felt कि I have been working with so many NGOs, and today at times I think कि शायद बना लेते तो शायद 5 साल हो जाते, 6 साल हो जाते. तो अगर किसी ने अभी भी इस ख्याल में है, सोच में है कि क्या हम कर सकते हैं, तो yes, you can still go for it. If you are a professional in the sector and you're really, really passionate about it, and you think you have innovative idea, or you would like to work on your own, you can have your NGO. 3 years is not a very big time, to be very honest. But yes, this is a minimum criteria that an NGO qualifies for the CSR funding. So they need to be either a registered trust, an 1860 society, or a Section 8 company with minimum 3 years of track record. And of course, there are other documentation required, which we'll talk more about as we move further. Going forward, this is one or two concepts I was discussing with Anju ji as well, कि मुझे लगता है बहुत important है proposal making से समझना, से पहले समझना कि ये टर्मिनोलॉजीज क्या है और इनके इम्प्लीकेशंस क्या हैं. तो पहले तो हमने देखा कि लॉ ने बोला कि कौन से कॉर्पोरेट्स आएंगे जिनकी CSR फंडिंग है, जिनको करनी है CSR फंडिंग, राइट. नेट वर्थ टर्नओवर प्रॉफिट्स के बेसिस पे हमने डिसाइड करा दे हैव टू स्पेंड 2%. नाउ सर्टेन अमेंडमेंट्स केम इन 2021. जैसा कि मैंने आपसे कहा कि 10 साल की जर्नी हो गई है लॉ की, एंड लास्ट 10 years लॉट ऑफ वाटर हैज फ्लोन एंड सर्टेन अमेंडमेंट्स kicked in. So government is very, very closely watching what's happening in the sector, and they realize that though so much of money is going, but is it actually creating the kind of impact that the law was made for? So to tighten the framework, I would say, or maybe to get more focus on the sector, they introduced something known as ongoing projects, whereby they said कि हर corporate को 31 मार्च तक, हर साल का एक CSR बजट होता है कॉर्पोरेट का, राइट? हर साल 2% जो प्रॉफिट है लास्ट 3 साल का, उसका एवरेज उसका बजट है. ये 2% प्रॉफिट जो उसका बजट है, उसको 31 मार्च उसी फाइनेंशियल ईयर में, बाय 31 मार्च इट हैज टू स्पेंड दैट मनी. नाउ इफ द कॉर्पोरेट फेल्स टू स्पेंड दैट मनी, देन व्हाट? तो गवर्नमेंट का कहना है आप नहीं खर्च कर पाए तो आप मुझे दे दीजिए. देयर आर सर्टेन फंड्स विच आर मेंशन इन शेड्यूल 7. अगर आपने ध्यान दिया हो तो कुछ फंड्स हाईलाइटेड थे वहां पे, जैसे क्लीन गंगा फंड, पीएम केयर फंड, स्वच्छ भारत अभियान. सो देर आर स्वच्छ भारत कोष, सॉरी, देर आर डिफरेंट फंड्स एंड कोष जहाँ पे आप मनी ट्रांसफर कर दीजिए 31 मार्च के बाद. विद इन 6 months यू ट्रांसफर दैट मनी, विच मीन्स बाय 30th of September अगर आप नहीं खर्च कर पाए तो आप ट्रांसफर कर दीजिए. So now, is it the only option? I could not spend because of various reasons. I didn't find good partner, or my project didn't. I couldn't complete the project I was working on, or there may be other reasons also. So I couldn't spend it in this year. So what next? क्या और option है मेरे पास? So government came up with a new term known as ongoing project. So they said, okay, you are not able to spend, your budget is 100 crores and you're not able to spend this entire 100 crores in this financial year. So you identify a project. आपको लगता है कोई प्रोजेक्ट है, 2 साल 3 साल चलेगा ये प्रोजेक्ट, 18 महीने चलेगा ये प्रोजेक्ट, और आप इस साल नहीं कंप्लीट कर पा रहे हैं, तो आप इस फंड को ऑन गोइंग प्रोजेक्ट में डाल दीजिए. एज इन ये प्रोजेक्ट जो 31 मार्च के बियॉन्ड भी आपके चलने वाला है. मैं दोबारा से क्लैरिफाई करती हूँ, ऑनगोइंग प्रोजेक्ट हर वो प्रोजेक्ट है जो 2 फाइनेंशियल ईयर्स को टच करता है, राइट? सो अगर मैंने जनवरी में प्रोजेक्ट शुरू किया एंड गोस टिल May और June, स्टिल इट विल बी नोन एज ऑनगोइंग प्रोजेक्ट बिकॉज इट्स टचिंग 2 फाइनेंशियल ईयर्स. सो बी वेरी क्लियर अबाउट इट. Ongoing project doesn't mean a project more than 1 year, as in more than 12 months. It can be any project which touches 2 financial years. So ये ongoing project में आप allocate कर दीजिए मनी. आप फेब में, जान में आपको समझ में आ गया कि आप नहीं स्पेंड कर पाएंगे इस फाइनेंशियल ईयर में बाय 31 मार्च, नो वरीज. आप कोई प्रोजेक्ट आइडेंटिफाई कीजिए और उसमें इस मनी को allocate कर दीजिए. Once you allocate this fund to these kind of project, आप 31 मार्च के बाद भी अपने अनस्पेंड अकाउंट में इस पैसे को रख सकते हैं और अगले साल भी स्पेंड कर सकते हैं. नाउ व्हाई इज इट इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर अस टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस इज, क्योंकि जब हम प्रपोजल बनाएंगे तो हमें इस बात का ध्यान रखना है कि व्हाट इज द ड्यूरेशन ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट दैट वी आर प्रपोजिंग. अगर आज दिसंबर में हम बैठे हैं, आप किसी कॉर्पोरेट के पास जा रहे हैं और 6 महीने का प्रपोजल देते हैं उसको जनवरी में, तो उसके लिए ये ऑन गोइंग प्रोजेक्ट होगा. You also have to find out, is corporate willing to take up an ongoing project? Because unfortunately, to be honest, most of the corporates don't go for ongoing projects. They say कि हम इसी साल में फाइनेंशियल ईयर में कंप्लीट करना चाहते हैं. तो आपका प्रपोजल ऐसा होना चाहिए जहां पे आप प्रोजेक्ट को मे भी 2 पार्ट में डिवाइड करें. सपोज आप स्किलिंग करना चाहते हैं, तो उसके लिए कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग करनी है, दैट कैन बी वन पीस एंड स्किलिंग कैन बी सेकेंड पीस. सो आप कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग ऑफ द सेंटर, जो भी आपको कम्युनिकेट कम्युनिटी सेंटर बनाना है, वो आप कहिए कि हम 31 मार्च तक कर देंगे और वहां पे उस मनी को यूटिलाइज करेंगे. तो प्रपोजल जो हम अब बनाएंगे वो हम अगले 3 महीने को ध्यान में रख के बनाएंगे. So keeping in mind that whether corporate is interested in ongoing project or not, and whether your project, the proposal that you're making, can be divided into 2 or 3 parts or not. So maybe they agree to the first part, you can have a MOU for the first part, and the second part you can start from April onwards. Okay, so it's very important to understand this, the timelines that you're going to follow. आपने 6 months का बोला, 8 months का बोला, and will you be able to deliver that or not? So always be very, very mindful about the timelines that you are going to propose over there. I'm not going to talk much about unspent. Again, penalties, I'm not going to talk about penalties. This is for the corporate. Now, treatment of capital asset. Again, this is also very important for all of you to understand, though I know, again, most of you would have a clarity, but just to reiterate and recap, any capital asset which is created by the corporate through the CSR funding. कुछ भी कैपिटल एसेट अगर कॉर्पोरेट ने क्रिएट करा है सीएसआर फंडिंग से, तो वो कैपिटल एसेट कॉर्पोरेट के पास नहीं रहता. उनको ये बेनिफिशियरी को ट्रांसफर करना पड़ेगा, पब्लिक अथॉरिटी को ट्रांसफर करना पड़ेगा, या एनजीओ को ट्रांसफर करना पड़ेगा. हैविंग सेड दैट, जरूरी नहीं कि अगर उन्होंने आपके साथ कोई काम करा और लैप सपोज अगेन स्किलिंग का ही प्रोजेक्ट है, वहां लैपटॉप्स की रिक्वायरमेंट थी, कंपनी ने लैपटॉप्स खरीद के दिए, 100 लैपटॉप प्रोवाइड किए. प्रोजेक्ट के बाद ये लैपटॉप्स वो अपने एनजीओ के, अपने फाउंडेशन के नाम पे भी वापस ले सकते हैं. राइट. सो टुमारो डोंट गो एंड फाइट विद द कॉर्पोरेट कि सर आपने तो दिए थे और वापस ले लिए. तो उन्होंने वापस लिए होंगे, पर वो उनके बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट में नहीं होंगे, फिर वो डेफिनेटली उनके फाउंडेशन के नाम पे होंगे. सो ईदर दे कैन ट्रांसफर इट टू द बेनिफिशियरी. जिन बच्चों को ट्रेनिंग दी, मैंने उन्हीं को लैपटॉप भी दे दिया कि बेटा आप ले जाओ, यू वुड नीड इट फॉर योर वर्क एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. और आई ट्रांसफर्ड इट टू द बेनिफिशियरी विच इज द एनजीओ विच यू आर देयर, और दी पब्लिक अथॉरिटी, ग्राम पंचायत, सरपंच, उनके नाम पे वहां हमने ट्रांसफर कर दिया. या फिर दे टेक इट इन द नेम ऑफ देयर ओन फाउंडेशन. बट अ कॉर्पोरेट कैन नॉट कीप एनी कैपिटल एसेट. So while you prepare your proposal, if any capital asset is involved over there, इसका भी ध्यान रखना कि ये किसको पास होने वाला है. This can be part of your exit strategy, sustainability piece. You have to mention about it, that where this capital asset is going to be at the end, right? Now, another important component is impact assessment. Again, in 21, when amendments came in, the government spoke about the impact assessment, the big projects as in any project for which more than 1 crore has been spent. For such big projects, an impact assessment has to be done. So there are more criteria to it, but for an NGO, it's important to understand कि अगर आपने कोई 1 करोड़ से ज्यादा का प्रोजेक्ट किया है कॉर्पोरेट के साथ, तो उस प्रोजेक्ट का इम्पैक्ट असेसमेंट होगा. कब होगा? उस प्रोजेक्ट के खत्म होने के 1 साल बाद होगा. तो ये 2 चीजें एक एनजीओ को समझनी बहुत जरूरी है. अगर मेरा प्रोजेक्ट 1 करोड़ से ज्यादा का, मे भी 2 साल 3 साल के टाइम पीरियड में मैंने करा है, पर टोटल स्पेंड इज मोर देन 1 crore of rupees. So if I have spent more than 1 crore of rupees in a project, then impact assessment is mandatory. And this impact assessment will be done by, funded by the corporate. It will be done by a third party. बट अगेन हमको क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट है ये समझना कि ये होगा? बिकॉज इम्पैक्ट असेसमेंट का क्या मतलब है? वो असेस करेंगे कि आपने जो काम किया वो कैसा किया, अच्छा किया, बुरा किया, उसका क्या इम्पैक्ट आया, क्या आउटपुट्स हुए, क्या आउटकम्स आए, क्या इम्पैक्ट आया. ये वो इंडिकेटर्स के बेसिस पे स्टडी करेंगे जो अपने ऑब्जेक्टिव शुरू में लिख के दिए थे. तो जब आप एमओयू बनाते हैं, जब आप इनिशियली प्रपोजल बनाते हैं, जब उसमें आप विजन स्टेटमेंट्स देते हैं, जब उसमें आप स्ट्रैटेजी देते हैं, जब उसमें आप ऑब्जेक्टिव्स देते हैं, उसी समय से हमें ध्यान रखना है कि क्या ये अचीवेबल है, क्या ये हम कर पाएंगे, और अगर हम करेंगे तो हम इसको मेजर कैसे करेंगे. आई से अगेन आई गो विद द सेम प्रोजेक्ट, स्किल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम फॉर गर्ल्स. सो हाउ मेनी गर्ल्स आर गोइंग टू अटेंड दिस प्रोग्राम, हु आर द बेनिफिशियरी. ये इंडिकेटर हमको डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा. नंबर ऑफ गर्ल्स बीइंग सर्टिफाइड एट द एंड, नंबर ऑफ गर्ल्स गॉट प्लेसमेंट, नंबर ऑफ गर्ल्स स्टिल वर्किंग आफ्टर द कंप्लीशन ऑफ 1 year ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट. ये भी स्टडी की जाएगी जब वो इम्पैक्ट असेसमेंट करने आएंगे. सो यू वुड नीड ऑल दिस डेटाज आल्सो एट द एंड, ऑफ कोर्स डेटा कीपिंग करनी पड़ेगी, डॉक्यूमेंटेशन करना पड़ेगा. बट व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू टेल यू हियर इज, एट द टाइम ऑफ प्रपोजल मेकिंग यू शुड बी माइंडफुल ऑफ दिस, कि इसका इम्पैक्ट असेसमेंट भी होगा. तो खुश होके हम कुछ भी लिख दें कि हम तो ये भी कर देंगे, हम तो वो भी कर देंगे, और ऐसा भी हो जाएगा और वैसा भी हो जाएगा, और प्रोजेक्ट सबमिट होकर दिया आपने, एंड बाद में यू आर नॉट एबल टू डिलीवर, तो वो इनिशियली मल्टीपल स्टेजेस में आपको प्रॉब्लम आएगी. सो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड अगेन द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ इम्पैक्ट असेसमेंट. Another thing is administrative overhead. After this, I'll take a break. In case you have a question, just park it with yourself. हम 5-10 मिनट के लिए रुकेंगे और हम कुछ सवाल जवाब करेंगे, समझेंगे हमें क्या समझ आया, उसके बाद मैं आगे बढ़ूंगी. तो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ओवरहेड जो है, जो ऑफिस एक्सपेंसेस के, जनरल मैनेजमेंट के खर्चे होते हैं, उसको भी डिफाइन किया है लॉ ने. एंड लॉ सेज कि कॉर्पोरेट कैन स्पेंड ओनली 5% ऑफ द टोटल बजट ऑफ द CSR budget can be the administrative overhead. Again, I'll repeat, the law says that only 5% of CSR expenditure of the company. मतलब मेरा बजट 100 करोड़ रुपए है, तो 5% में एडमिन में खर्च कर सकते हैं. पर मैंने 100 करोड़ में से सिर्फ अगर 80 लाख रुपए इस साल खर्च किए हैं, तो 80 लाख के 5% कॉर्पोरेट करता है. अगेन, मैं ये इसलिए बता रही हूँ कि ये कॉर्पोरेट के लिए, दिस इज नॉट फॉर एनजीओ. एनजीओ के लिए broadly that we are seeing in the sector is 5 to 10% का वेरिएशन रहता है ऑन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ओवरहेड. तो जब आप प्रपोजल बनाते हैं, तो कोशिश कीजिए इसी के अंदर अपना प्रपोजल बनाए, अपने एडमिन ओवरहेड्स जो हैं उसको जरूर बुक करें. बट इट शुड नॉट बी somewhere between 5 to 10%, again depending on the kind of project you are doing, depending on the geography you are working in, depending on the magnitude areas that you are working in. So it depends on lot of the factors कि हम किस पे काम कर रहे हैं, तो हमारा एडमिन ओवरहेड कम ज्यादा हो सकता है. बट ब्रॉडली 5 to 10% इज व्हाट द कॉर्पोरेट एक्सपेक्ट्स. एंड वो तो इनफैक्ट एक बार प्रपोजल जमा करने के बाद, या वंस यू सबमिट, देन देयर आर नेगोशिएशंस, देयर आर डील्स, एंड यू कैन टॉक टू देम. बट डोंट गो वेरी वेरी हाई कि 20-25% आपने एडमिन ओवरहेड दे दिया. या डोंट थिंक कि हमको 5% के अंडर ही रखना है, बिकॉज द लॉ इज 5%. दिस 5% लिमिट इज फॉर द कॉर्पोरेट्स, नॉट फॉर द एनजीओस. अगर आपका कॉर्पोरेट कहता है तो आप उनसे भी बता सकते हैं कि सर, हम्बली, एज फार एज वी नो, दिस 5% लिमिट इज ओनली फॉर द कॉर्पोरेट एंड नॉट फॉर द एनजीओ ओवर हियर. ओके, so here I'll take a little break and I would like to hear from all of you. बहुत सारा एक साथ बता दिया है मैंने, और इसलिए बता दिया because I would like to focus little more on the proposal making and we'll talk more about it. It's already 5:40. So any questions so far? Any thoughts so far? कुछ आप share करना चाहेंगे? Yes, Udit. You may unmute yourself, Udit.
Hello, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Udit.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Ma'am, when we are mentioning the word NGO, so it is not specifically restricted to a certain entity. It could be a society, it could be a Section 8 or any other.
Mm-hmm. Yes, when we are referring to NGO, it refers to a Section 8 company, a society, or a trust. So broadly, these three entities are there. Okay, so these are all not-for-profit organizations. They need to have a 12A. They also need to have a 80G. Going further, all these entities, as I said, they have to register on the Urban portal. And further, they also need to have a Form CSR 1 registration. You may note it down. CSR 1 registration. This CSR 1 registration is done under MCA. So it's mandatory for all the corporates. In the next slide, I'll be sharing all the must-haves for all the entities who are willing to take the CSR funding. So I'll be sharing that list with all of you in the next slide itself. Okay,
Ma'am,
Udit?
the NGO Darpan registration is a statutory requirement.
Okay, so it's not a statutory requirement though, but most of the corporates now ask for it. So if you talk about section 135 की section 135 जो है क्या वो कहता है कि दर्पण पोर्टल में रजिस्टर करना है? नहीं. Section 135 is not talking about it. It's silent on that. Howsoever, most of the corporates are asking for it कि आपको करना पड़ेगा. एनजीओ दर्पण का जब इनिशियल रजिस्ट्रेशन शुरू हुआ था, so it was for collaboration with the ministries, basically for the government fundings. उसके लिए शुरू हुआ था. But now if you see, RBI guidelines have come up for the banks which says कि आप किसी भी एनजीओ का अकाउंट नहीं खोलेंगे अगर दर्पण पोर्टल में रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं है. एंड एज आई सेड कि अगर आप ऑलरेडी रजिस्टर्ड हैं दर्पण पोर्टल में, तो अब जब आपका बैंक है उसका जब केवाईसी फॉर्म आएगा, तो आप देखेंगे कि वो आपसे दर्पण पोर्टल का रजिस्ट्रेशन नंबर मांगेंगे, जो उन्होंने पहले नहीं लिया था आपसे. सो दैट्स द रीजन आई सेड कि इट्स फास्ट इंक्रीजिंग. अभी अगस्त में हमने ये सेशन किया था, एंड अगस्त में इट वाज 2,15,000 और समथिंग लाइक दैट. उसके पहले आई रिमेम्बर आई चेक्ड इट समटाइम इन जून और जुलाई. आई वाज टेकिंग ए सेशन समवेयर इन नागालैंड, एंड तब मैंने चेक करा था कि कितने रजिस्ट्रेशन है. सो दर्पण पोर्टल वाज सेलिब्रेटिंग, you know, we are 2 lakh plus, we are 2 lakh plus, and today we are 2,71,000, and I'm sure in next 1 month's time will be more than 3 lakh plus registration on the Darpan portal. So yes, that's not a statutory requirement, but as I said, उसके बिना बहुत सारे corporates की mandatory list में है Darpan portal registration.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Yes, a smile. You may unmute yourself and share your question,
Yeah.
Smile.
Yeah. So, ma'am, basically, I have two questions. First one is like, I need more explanation on the administrative overhead, which
Okay.
is being spent by the NGO regarding the NGO specifically. And
Mm-hmm.
second question is that on that Schedule 7, it is mentioned that the you can either spend your CSR expenditure in the PM CARES fund, right? But as far as I know, PM CARES fund doesn't come under the RTI Act. So what are the provisions if we would like to inquire about a specific company spending n numbers of amount in the CSR? So how we are going to extract the amount if it is being spent in the PM CARES fund? Yeah.
Okay. So, uh, see, if you say there are funds, there are five funds broadly where you can actually contribute your CSR money, right? Once you contribute to them, you get a receipt from them that, okay, this much amount has been spent or shared with the this particular fund. And that is a good enough document for our audit purpose. Now, as far as I know, jitne bhi ye funds hain, inka annually they share the report that how much has been spent, where it has been spent. ऑफ कोर्स कंपनी वाइज स्पेंड नहीं आता है कि आपने जो पैसा दिया था वो कहाँ पे खर्च हुआ एग्जैक्टली दैट डजंट कम अप ओवर देयर बट आई रिमेम्बर देयर हैव ऑलवेज बीन लॉट ऑफ डिस्कशन ऑन दिस कि ये करना चाहिए नहीं करना चाहिए कितना फेयर है सो गवर्नमेंट इज गिविंग यू दिस राइट यू नो दे आर नॉट आस्किंग यू टू deposit with them or contribute to one of these funds. They are giving you enough time. In fact, 4 साल का time है. Good that you asked me this. तो I can also let you know कि ongoing projects जो होते हैं 4 साल का time होता है. You can, government is saying either spend within this year. If you're not able to spend by 31st of March, you can allocate it to one of the projects and spend in next 3 years, which makes it 1 + 3 years. Even after 4 years, if you're not able to spend it, then you can give to one of the funds mentioned over there. That is one thing. Secondly, if I'm a very small organization, my profits have just crossed 5 crore, I'm a 6 crore, 7 crore organization, and I don't have enough CSR capacities. I don't have CSR professionals who can do it for me. I'm not able to identify good projects. Then I can spend it over there. Secondly, you know, during COVID times, lot of funding went to PM Care Fund and बहुत COVID के समय बहुत activities की गई all India across the country, which was funded by PM Care Fund, which they shared in their reports. So that's all I can talk about at right now. Unki auditing, of course, they don't come under RTI and all of that. But yeah, that's how it is. Right. And what was your first question? Administrative overhead.
Yeah.
So
Just
what
to
did
add
you
up.
want to understand?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I just wanted to ask you what exactly the administrative overhead works in the NGO, how we add that amount in the budget first, and second is, can I get an example of at Parliament state entity, like there is also another section,
Yes.
one of the part which we can spend the CSR amount. So can I get an example of that?
Okay, wait, I'll just share the same slide. I'll go to that particular slide. So we are talking about administrative overhead. Okay. So administrative overhead for corporates, as I say, this is about the general expenditure for the general management that they are having. Similarly, NGOs के भी expenditures होते हैं. आपको भी एक ऑफिस लेना पड़ता है, वाईफाई के खर्चे आते हैं, टेलीकॉम के खर्चे आते हैं, फोन का बिल आता है, बाकी चीजें आती हैं जो कि एडमिन ओवरहेड का पार्ट हो सकता है. Okay, and it can be very well be the part of the entire budget. If corporate is giving you 100 rupees, it can be part of that. Suppose I'm an NGO and I'm working with 3 or 4 corporates. ये 3 या 4 corporates है जिनके साथ मैं काम कर रही हूँ, उनकी funding आ रही है. I can also divide my admin expenses among them. मेरे जितने लोग उनके साथ लगे उनके प्रोजेक्ट में लगे हैं, काम कर रहे हैं, basis that I can also divide the admin cost that I am bearing. But yes, that can very well be part of the entire budget that I am sharing with them. Hope this clarifies. Now you're talking about the parliament entity, right? State or central government vehicle. So now that you have raised this question, so पहला है कौन-कौन implementing agency हो सकता है? It can, number one, be the corporate foundation. HCL Foundation, ONGC Foundation, Reliance Foundation, ICICI Foundation, SBI Foundation. Most of the corporates have their own foundation. They can do it through them. or they can do it through an external agency or an NGO, which can be registered trust, 1860 society or a Section 8 company. In fact, जो corporate foundations है, उनको भी या तो ट्रस्ट होंगे या सोसाइटी होगी या सेक्शन 8 कंपनी होंगे. सो इट्स मैंडेटरी फॉर बोथ ऑफ देम. इफ यू कैन सी ओवर हियर, the only benefit that a corporate foundation has is it can be new one. उसको 3 साल की एंटिटी होना जरूरी नहीं है. दैट रिस्ट्रिक्शन इज नॉट देयर फॉर कॉर्पोरेट फाउंडेशन. वेयर जो एनजीओ है, थर्ड पार्टी है, उसको मिनिमम 3 year old होना होगा. Both of them need to have a Form CSR 1 registration. Both of them need to have 12A, 80G, 12A or 1023C or 80G. So this is applicable for both of them. Now, if I talk about central government vehicle जैसे गुजरात ने CSR अथॉरिटी बना दी, गुजरात के स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने एक CSR अथॉरिटी बना दी, गोवा ने CSR अथॉरिटी बना दी. So these CSR authorities are the state or government, state or central vehicle. जैसे we work with नागालैंड गवर्नमेंट, नागालैंड में उन्होंने आइडान करके एक एंटिटी बना दी है, इंडस्ट्रियल डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी ऑफ नागालैंड. दिस इज सेट अप बाय द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, which can take up the CSR activities over there. Now again, contribution to them is not allowed. आपने जैसे बोला कि हम उनको पैसे दे सकते हैं, नहीं, हम इनको पैसे नहीं दे सकते. इवन इफ एन एंटिटी इज सेटअप बाय द पार्लियामेंट, हम इनको पैसे नहीं देते. दिस इज एन एक्टिविटीज राउट. आई विल बी शेयरिंग दिस पीपीटी. आई रिक्वेस्ट अंजू जी, हम की टीम, अगर आप सब पार्टिसिपेंट से शेयर कर लीजिएगा, आपके पास मेल आईडीज अगर हैं सबकी तो. So this has to be the activities route. If you see over here, can you see? कंपनी फाउंडेशन भी एक्टिविटी राउट है, एक्सटर्नल व्हीकल भी एक्टिविटी राउट है. एक्टिविटी राउट मतलब यहाँ हम कंट्रीब्यूशन नहीं देंगे कि आप पैसा रख लो, जैसा आपने कहा कि पीएम केयर फंड में गया या स्वच्छ भारत कोष में गया, क्लीन गंगा फंड में गया, तो कहाँ गया, वो कंट्रीब्यूशन राउट है. हम आईआईटीज को भी हम कंट्रीब्यूशन कर सकते हैं. देयर आर सर्टेन क्वालिफाइंग एजेंसीज, इंस्टीट्यूशंस व्हिच आर देयर इन शेड्यूल 7, जहाँ पे हम कंट्रीब्यूशन कर सकते हैं फॉर रिसर्च पर्पज स्पेशली, तो वहां फंडिंग जाती है. Whereas जब हम इन एंटिटीज के साथ देते हैं तो हम इनको एक्टिविटी राउट देते हैं. मतलब एक प्रोजेक्ट होना चाहिए, उसका उस प्रोजेक्ट के लिए उसमें कुछ एक्टिविटीज होनी चाहिए, उन एक्टिविटीज को फंड करने के लिए ये फंडिंग होती है, राइट. एंड नाउ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, टू गिव यू एन एग्जांपल ऑफ एंटिटी सेटअप बाय पार्लियामेंट, जैसे इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट, इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ कंपनी सेक्रेटरी, दीज आर द एंटिटीज व्हिच आर सेटअप बाय द एक्ट ऑफ पार्लियामेंट. ओके.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Any other question? Wilson, you are asking me admin cost can be 5% or 10% as per financial year budget or over project budget. I didn't understand the next part, but whatever I understood is ki admin cost of the corporate cannot be beyond 5% of the expenditure of that year. Suppose I am a corporate, my CSR budget is 100 crore of rupees for this financial year. Okay. Now I spend the entire 100 crores. So I can bill 5 lakh as my admin overhead cost. That can be my admin cost that I can book. But suppose my budget is 100 crore, I spent 80 crores, 20 I transfer to the unspent account. So my admin overhead cost can be 5% of the 80 lakh rupees which I have spent. This is for the corporate. For the NGO, as I said, there is no written rule or law on this. But as per best practices in the industry, we see some are fixed to 5%, 6% to 10% is generally accepted. Again, depending on geography, for example, we are working on a project in Kashmir or Arunachal in a difficult terrain, then I have seen this budget goes higher. I work in Kutch, interiors of Kutch and all of that, then again budget may go higher because admin cost ज़्यादा आएगा, travel cost मेरा शायद ज़्यादा आएगा, मेरी जो एमएनई की टीम होगी उसको वहां जाके रुकना पड़ेगा, पार्क करना पड़ेगा, तो उसका कॉस्ट ज्यादा आएगा. So it all depends on you. You can put it under admin, you can put it under admin, sorry, MNE. So yes, the cost varies there, but you can book this cost in the project. That should be there as part of the proposal. Is there any standard operating procedure SOP during implementation of CSR program? Yes, Vijay, there are. I don't know which particular area you're talking about. Maybe let us move towards the proposal and then at the end you can share your question with me. Sujin, yes, we can book in the program. HR comes under program cost. Yes, HR also comes under program cost. Anything else? Okay, so to address the last question, as Shruti says, is there a limitation under CSR law in terms of number of years a company can fund the same project? Yes, there is. Now again, this is a little कैच, और जिसको कहते हैं कि आपको थोड़ा शब्दों से खेलना पड़ेगा और प्रोजेक्ट में भी खेलना पड़ सकता है. So, and again, it all depends on corporate also. I'll give you one or two examples. पहले हम आते हैं लॉ क्या कहता है. लॉ कहता है कि any corporate can do an ongoing project which can be for more than one financial year, right? As I started with. Now, is there a maximum duration? Yes. Law says that a maximum duration of a CSR project can be 4 years. You can work for 4 years with the same NGO with the same project. And after 4 years, the project has to come to an end and there should be sustainability element and all of that. Now, this is interpreted differently by different corporates. Law doesn't say कि आप same beneficiary के साथ काम नहीं कर सकते. Law doesn't say आप same NGO के साथ काम नहीं कर सकते. Law says कि same project को कंटिन्यू नहीं करना है. सो अगर सपोज I am into education of girls, right? I'll start with the simple example. I started a project where I am an NGO. Maybe Anjuji is the corporate. I'm working with her. She's supporting me as a corporate. And we are working for the primary education of girl child. For 4 years, we supported, she was very generous. She supported these girls for next 4 years. And 4 saal mein, these girls came to class 3 or 2 or whatever. They could read, write and all. And now they want to go for their higher education, for middle school. But she says, no, I can't do that. Is it so that she can't do that? No. Law is not stopping it. Law is saying, is project ko khatam karo. So now what I'll do, submit a new proposal to her, saying that these in class 1 in nursery KG, suppose 100 girls joined the program. Now 80 girls have actually come so far. And there are 20 other girls in the class who were not part of the previous project though. And there are other girls I can identify in the vicinity who need this kind of support. So I can again submit a project of for 100 girls, maybe more, maybe less, with her saying that I need support for education of these girls from class 3 to 6 or 3 to 5. So I need your support for next 3 years. So we can design a new project with new need assessment, with new objectives, with new targets, maybe with the same set of beneficiary, maybe with the new set of beneficiary, and we can go ahead with that. Maybe I still want to support education of girls for primary education only. I can have a new set of beneficiary in this case. And again, I'll submit a proposal to her saying that, ma'am, still there is no school in the vicinity. Still there are girl child over here who need this kind of support. These are the girls that are there. These many girls need this kind of support. These are the beneficiary that I am targeting at. And this is the need assessment that I'm doing again. And I see there is a reason that we need your funding over there and we can have a fresh MOU over here. ओके. सो प्रोजेक्ट खत्म करना है, मतलब हमारा प्रोजेक्ट हो क्या रहा था पहले, क्यों ये लॉ क्यों आया, हमें कई बार लगता है क्या क्या बना दिया इन्होंने, क्यों रेस्ट्रिक्शन है, इसलिए था क्योंकि पैसा एक ही प्रोजेक्ट में जा रहा है, कुछ इम्पैक्ट ही नहीं आ रहा. सो लॉट ऑफ साइफनिंग वाज हैपनिंग. सो गवर्नमेंट वांटेड टू कट इट शॉर्ट कि ओके 4 साल खत्म हुआ, बताओ क्या इम्पैक्ट हुआ, प्रोजेक्ट शुड कम टू एन एंड, यू कैन डू द विद द सेम सेट ऑफ बेनिफिशियरी और मे बी द सेम काइंड ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट. बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली I'll be honest, बहुत सारे कॉर्पोरेट्स ने मिसइंटरप्रेट करा एंड दे सेड वी कांट कंटिन्यू विद द सेम कॉर्पोरेट. वो प्रोजेक्ट खत्म कर दिया उन्होंने. दे डिडंट कंटिन्यू विद द सेम एनजीओ, दे डिडंट कंटिन्यू विद द सेम प्रोजेक्ट. I am also aware of the cases where very big corporates, they didn't work with the same NGO with which they started, but they continued the project with other NGO. So that has also happened this year. ये fourth year था लॉ को amendments के बाद 2021 में amendment आया. This is the fourth year, 2024. Many corporates have done that, and I'm sure some of you might have been affected or impacted by this change over there. Okay. So should I take more question or let us move forward?
I think we should move forward, although there are a lot of questions, that have come in, Dr. Surabhi. Yet, let's just focus on
Yes,
what
interest of
today
time,
we
I'll think.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so the laptop is refused to move. Okay. Now, as I was saying, what are the mandatory documents for an implementing agency? Let's move towards the proposal making. सो पहले प्रपोजल मेकिंग से पहले हम ये देखें हम क्वालिफाइड हैं कि नहीं है इसके लिए। जैसे हम एलिजिबिलिटी क्राइटेरिया चेक करते हैं ना, कोई कोर्स करने जाते हैं किसी भी चीज के, तो हम एलिजिबल हैं या नहीं उसके लिए पहले। सो सबसे पहले हमें अपनी एलिजिबिलिटी चेक करनी है एज एन इम्प्लीमेंटिंग एजेंसी, आर वी एलिजिबल फॉर CSR फंडिंग or not. So these are the mandatory criterias which every corporate looks for in a proposal or in an NGO. So first thing is you need to have a CSR Form 1. Okay, of course, you need to be a Section 8 company or a trust or a society, 1860 society, that goes without saying. So you have to be either of them. ये आप प्रूव होगा आपके रजिस्ट्रेशन सर्टिफिकेट से, या ट्रस्ट डीड जो आएगी आपकी उससे कॉर्पोरेट देखेगा कि आर यू अ ट्रस्ट सोसाइटी और ए सेक्शन 8 कंपनी. यू हैव टू शेयर दिस विद देम. If you are any one of them and you are more than 3 year old, you need to have a CSR Form 1 registration. The CSR Form 1 registration can be done on the MCA website. Somebody in the chat box, I remember, asking me about it. Maybe we can connect a little later on this, but yes, it's compulsory and it doesn't take much time. Within 2 days, within few hours also, people have got their CSR Form 1 registration, so it doesn't take much time. However, they require certain information from all of you, which you can easily submit details about your director, details of your registration date and all of that, which you can very well submit over there. Third is your board member list. This is again, you may say it's not a statutory requirement, it's not mentioned in section 135, but this is something every corporate asks for, that who are your board members? Are they clean? If there's any case on them, any police case or anything on them. So these are the certain documents that they ask for. The NGO need to have a 12A or 1023C, either of them. 1023C is again a new qualification which came, qualifying criteria which came in 22 amendments. These are usually referring to very old religious society or educational trust. So very few organizations come under the ambit of 1023C. For us, broadly, it's more important to understand that we need to have a 12A. We also need to have a ATG registration. Then most of the corporates ask for income tax return for last 3 years. This is again goes without saying, they'll ask you for this, that you submit your annual reports, your income tax returns, and they also ask for the annual reports. Okay. So I often advise NGOs कि अगर आपका काम अभी बहुत बड़ा नहीं भी है, आपने छोटा छोटा काम किया है, आप जो भी कर रहे हैं, आप रिपोर्ट्स बनाते हैं, प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट्स बनाते हैं, हम प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट सबमिट भी करते हैं. Make your annual report also. Start preparing your annual report from now itself if you're not doing it. Every NGO should do that. I know some big NGOs also, mid-sized NGOs also don't do it. But now they have started doing it. So communication has become very, very important tool now. So all of you should start working on your annual report on an immediate basis. Okay. Then your financial statements for last 3 years, audited reports and all of that, they ask for. FCRA renewal, in case it's applicable, then only it's required, otherwise it's not required. Your PAN number, your TAN number, your policy documents and various bylaws, they ask about. I'll talk more about it a little later. Then registration on the Darpan portal. And if you have a NGO website, then you should share the URL of your NGO website as well. To give you a little more understanding of it, I'll just let you know about one of the experiences I had with a very big corporate and a mid-sized NGO. NGO was also doing pretty good though, but corporate wanted to give them a big size ticket, big size project. And they were asking for their ITRs, their annual reports, their financial statements, and all of them. So the corporate actually saw that most of the documents, not most, all the documents were there with the NGO. They were a clean NGO. Their ITR was clean, their annual reports were there, their financial statements were clean. They were already working on smaller projects with the other corporates and they were delivering well. They were able to do it on time. Utilization and everything was being done on time. So here they were assessing that whether this particular NGO would be able to tackle or take such a big ticket size project or not. So many a times it happens that we even may not envision कि हमको इतना बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट मिल जाएगा, पर वो अगर हमारे सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स होते हैं, क्लीन होते हैं, तो वो हो जाता है. On the other hand, ऐसा भी होता है, suppose it's a big project, big ticket size, it's a 10 crore funding that the corporate wants to give or a 5 crore funding and you are just a 1 crore organization, आपका turnover ही 1 crore का है और आपने नहीं किया है और आप प्रपोजल बना रहे हो और आप बड़ा साइज लिख रहे हो और आप कह रहे हो कि मैं तो 4 करोड़ का प्रोजेक्ट कर लूंगा या 6 करोड़ का प्रोजेक्ट कर लूंगा, बट योर रिपोर्ट्स आर नॉट सपोर्टिंग यू. So as I said, you should always be very transparent कि आप क्या लिख रहे हैं, आप क्या कह रहे हैं. Just don't write for the sake of writing. Write what you are able to deliver, what your documents are supporting you. Now then it's up to the corporate, that maybe they want to go with a bigger ticket with you and they are assessing you and then they give you time also to develop your capabilities, your capacities and all of them. I'll discuss the same example a little more as we move forward. So what is the importance of these documents then? कोई भी जब हम proposal बनाते हैं, so in any proposal when you submit to the corporate, there are two elements. You may write it down, in fact. We often talk about, when we talk about the proposal, we start talking about हम क्या करना चाहते हैं, beneficiary कौन है, कौन से geographic area में करेंगे, क्या project में काम करने वाले हैं, what is the impact we are going to create. We talk about all of that. We don't focus on the organizational capacities or the profile. Whereas, which is the most important factor, वो stage 1 है. सबसे पहले you need to have this. This is the organization profile. You need to have all of them. So I'm associated with HCL Foundation. I work with them as a consultant. Many of you are aware of that. And they have a grant. HCL grant is a major thing that happens over there. More than 5 crore of grant is being given by HCL Foundation in the process, where they ask the NGOs to come up with the proposals. They ask कि आप submit करो proposal हमको, and when these proposals are submitted, stage 1 is evaluation of the organization profile. सबसे पहले majority वहीं पे निकल जाते हैं because उनके पास ये documents नहीं होते या clean नहीं होते या capacities नहीं होती. I'm asking for a 5 crore funding, but my turnover is not even 50 lakh of rupees. तो कैसे मैं कर पाऊंगी वो? Do I have those kind of capabilities or not? That is what they check over here. So 30 to 40% weightage most of the corporates give to the organization profile. So these 3 years, the first 3 years, even though you may not be qualifying for CSR funding, are very, very important for building your organization profile. So the NGO should focus on that. What are the components of an organization profile now? Let us talk about that. So basically the general information about the organization. What are the general information? What is your vision? What is your MOA? Do you have registration on all those CSR Form 1, Darpan Portal 12A, ATG and all of that or not? Do you have PAN card, TAN card, all of these or not? So those mandatory documents I spoke about are majorly part of the general information. तो ये तो चाहिए ही चाहिए. This you should share in your proposal. This should be the first part. Maybe you can make a table in the beginning where you share all these information, your PAN, TAN, ATG, 12A, CSR1, Darpan portal. As a checklist उसको आप बना के share कर सकते हैं. In fact, I think I have also made it for all of you, which I'll be again sharing. So you can make a checklist like this, a table like this, and you can share with the corporate. कि CSR1 is there, Darpan portal registration number है कि नहीं, वो आप लगा सकते हैं. You're a Section 8 company or a trust or society, your MOA, copy of MOA, PAN, TAN, your ATG certification. All of this you can make a kind of checklist and attach all of this. Again, a new component here is geographical reach of organization. Project, the corporate needs somebody to deliver in Tamil Nadu. I am in Gujarat and I have never worked in Tamil Nadu and now I say I can work there. I have to prove my capabilities. Do I have somebody out there? How am I going to do it? Do I work pan-India? What are my capacities and why I am saying that I'll be able to do that? So I should be able to justify this. URL of NGO website, as I said, it's not mandatory. If there is any, you may share. नहीं है और आपकी capacities हैं तो बनवा लीजिए. अपनी website बनाना is always a good thought. Then your leadership profile. That is also very, very important. Who are your leaders? And what is your HR size? I'll go with the same example I was talking about, this big corporate reaching out to mid-size NGO, where they asked them, they wanted to give them a big project. What is your HR size? HR size was very small. In fact, I was in the morning reading another report which said that more than, I think, 60% organizations, more than 60% NGOs have less than 50 members in their NGO, you know. So size of an NGO is less than 50, most of the NGOs, right? Having said that, that doesn't limit you. आपका size कम भी हो सकता है, 10, 15, 20 भी हो सकता है. You may hire consultants for the project. So you can always tell them that this is our fixed employee, these many people work with us, and these are the consultant with us. Suppose I am working on a technical project on water conservation. So my leadership has those kind of skills, but I would need more people for the same. So I can mention the consultants who work with us, whom we can hire, and that is acceptable in this sector. That is absolutely acceptable in this sector. Or suppose I want to do the impact assessment. Impact assessment again is a new thing which has come up in this sense. A third party has to do the impact assessment. Suppose again I'll go with the same thing. Anju ji is the CSR donor. I am the implementer. मैंने 3 साल काम किया, 1 करोड़ से ज्यादा खर्च किया. Impact assessment होना है. कौन करेगा impact assessment? Some third party will do. Of course, Anju ji will fund for that. The corporate will be funding for the impact assessment, but some third party is going to do that. So many NGOs have also started doing the impact assessment now. They're coming up in this field, in this area. So when they come, they can say that, okay, we have so and so researcher on board with us, so we can hire them as a consultant, and that is an acceptable thing. But yes, you need to mention एट द फर्स्ट गो कि आपके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कितने लोग हैं. और एचआर के बारे में हम प्रपोजल में एज वी गो डाउन आई टॉक मोर अबाउट इट कि कंसल्टेंट्स को आप कब इंट्रोड्यूस करेंगे. बट इनिशियली व्हेन यू शेयर दिस यू शुड टॉक अबाउट द ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल एचआर साइज. इफ यू हैव एनी गवर्नमेंट पार्टनरशिप्स और एनी यू कैन टॉक अबाउट इट. पीएसयू के साथ आपने काम किया है, आप कर सकते हैं. बहुत सारे जैसे जेम पोर्टल में रजिस्ट्रेशन है, इस तरह की चीजें अगर आपके पास कुछ हैं, कुछ सर्टिफिकेशंस हैं, you should definitely mention that. That will give you a added advantage. This I have downloaded from one of the corporates. I usually work on the checklist, on the things that are there on the websites, which are there with the corporates that I have worked on. So the particular corporate with whom I was working, they also wanted this कि कहीं आप नीति आयोग या किसी के साथ blacklist तो नहीं हुए. इनफैक्ट आप दर्पण पोर्टल में जब जाएंगे आप देखिएगा वहाँ blacklisted NGOs की भी लिस्ट है. So maybe we can add on to this on Darpan portal as well. Are you blacklisted on Darpan portal or not? So they ask for all these transparencies over there. If you have received any award or something, you can mention about it to as a validity कि हाँ भाई हमने इतना अच्छा काम किया है. So you may share all of this over here. Srila, you want to share something?
Ma'am, I had a question with respect to HR size. So my NGO works mostly with volunteers. So would that come, and there are certain number of volunteers who have been with us for past 4 years, as in since the time we have, since the inception of our NGO. So do
Right.
we add them also in HR size? Can we add them, or it is necessary that we have to pay salary to the employees
Okay.
of the consultant? So
Okay.
that was my
So
question.
most of the NGOs, as I said, they hire consultants or they work with volunteers. So when I am talking about HR size, एक तो आपका core HR full-time employees कितने, you should mention that, and you should add that, okay, these many people work with us as volunteers or as consultants. And as I said, depending on the kind of project you are working in, suppose it's for water conservation, you'll need people who have technical know-how of water, energy, and all of those things, right? So you can share their profile who may not be your permanent employee, but who can be part of your team as a consultant or on volunteering basis. So here you should mention the original size of your organization, which is there. Whereas in the proposal, I'll show you as we go down in the proposal, you also need to mention the capabilities of the people who are there, or even if they are the consultants who are there, you can mention it over there.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Most welcome. So now we have, coming back to this slide, I'll again share that checklist that I have with me, and you can get it from the organizers. So we need to share all of this, and at the end come organization policy and practices. This is very, very important now for most of the corporates. You know what has happened? The bigger corporates, auditing has become very tight. All of us are aware of that. And auditings are again done by Big Four. Big Four comes with their own checklist. You know, कि ये भी होना चाहिए, वो भी होना चाहिए, and all of that. So, and in fact, this is a good way of setting a organized sector, working in the organized sector. As we keep saying that NGOization of corporate is happening and corporatization of NGO also has to happen. If we have to partner, हम दोनों को बराबरी से आना पड़ेगा. हम corporate के साथ काम करना चाहते हैं तो हमको उनके साथ उनके processes को समझते हुए काम करना पड़ेगा. बिकॉज कॉर्पोरेट के ऊपर भी बहुत प्रेशर है। एक तो चीज होगी CSR की, उनके ऊपर ESG, BRSR और भी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो उनके ऊपर है, which they have to follow as part of compliances. And again, it's a very good practice to have good organizational policies, and you can have it on your website, you can have it on your reports and all of that. So you can keep sharing them. What are the policies that I'm talking about here? I'm talking about policies like child care policy, POSH, POSCO, your HR policies, your procurement policies. So there are various policies. जब भी हमारा कुछ procurement होता है, how are we going to do that? These policies are easily available on Google. If you Google them, you can find them, you can download, you can make one for your own organization, you can customize them. POSH is a very, very important component. अगर आप skilling में काम कर रहे हैं, बच्चों के साथ काम कर रहे हैं, तो POXO बहुत important है कि बच्चों के साथ हम कैसे डील करने वाले हैं। HR पॉलिसीज हमारी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि कितनी हॉलीडेज मिलने वाली, टीम के साथ कैसा बिहेवियर होगा। तो ये सारी चीजें हमारी पॉलिसीज में आती हैं। आप किसी भी कॉर्पोरेट की साइट में भी जाएंगे तो आप देखेंगे उनकी भी सारी पॉलिसीज उन्होंने डिस्प्ले की होती है। मोस्टली यूल फाइंड देयर पॉलिसीज ओवर देयर, एंड एज पार्ट ऑफ बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस नाउ NGOs आर आल्सो हैविंग ऑल दीज पॉलिसीज। इनफैक्ट आप बहुत सारे RFPs वगैरह भी डाउनलोड करें तो उसमें भी मेंशन होता है कि विच आर दी पॉलिसीज दे आर लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू, राइट। नाउ बिफोर आई गो टू दी टॉक मोर अबाउट प्रोजेक्ट प्रपोजल, हम थोड़ी इस बारे में बात करते हैं कि प्रपोजल जाता कैसे है, एज इन हम कब बनाते हैं प्रपोजल। देर आर 2-3 सिनेरियोज। वन इज ए RFP सिचुएशन। व्हाट इज RFP? रिक्वेस्ट फॉर प्रपोजल, विच अ कॉर्पोरेट रेजेस, राइट। कॉर्पोरेट के ऊपर भी प्रेशर है कि उनको स्पेंड करना है, दे हैव टू स्पेंड द मनी दैट दे हैव। जो CSR का पैसा है 2% है, उनको स्पेंड करना है। अगर उन्होंने नहीं किया तो उनपे पेनल्टी लग जाएगी। So they want to spend, but they want to create good impact also. So many a times the corporate identifies the need in the area that they want to work in, education, health, livelihood, wherever they want to work in, and the geographies and all of that. And basis that need assessment, they share a RFP. आपको ये RFP मिलेगी कहाँ? आपको ये कॉर्पोरेट की वेबसाइट पे मिल जाएगी। आप उनके लिंक्डइन को फॉलो करें, लिंक्डइन प्रोफाइल्स जो हैं कॉर्पोरेट्स के उनको फॉलो करें, जितने फाउंडेशंस हैं उनको फॉलो करें। बहुत सारे आजकल एजेंसीज हैं जो ये शेयर करती हैं। आई वुड नॉट लाइक टू नेम एनी ऑफ देम, बट देयर आर मेनी इन द मार्केट नाउ जो RFP शेयर करती हैं। तो आप उन पे जाके देख सकते हैं कि विच आर द लेटेस्ट RFPs विच आर देयर। तो उसमें प्रॉपर लिखा होता है कि उनको क्या क्या चाहिए, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ एजेंसी दे आर लुकिंग फॉर, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ वर्क, विच ज्योग्राफी, विच थीमेटिक एरिया। सो आप उसके बेसिस पे प्रपोजल बना के सबमिट कर सकते हैं। दूसरा, ऐसे भी बहुत केस होते हैं जहां corporate has not identified the area as in geography or theme broadly फिर भी defined होती है, but they have not identified कि exactly क्या करना है। So many a time they say we invite proposals, if you have any you please come to us। मैक्स टू मैक्स वो ज्योग्राफी डिफाइन कर देते हैं कि इन महाराष्ट्र करना है या गुजरात करना है, उत्तर प्रदेश करना है, कश्मीर करना है। सो वी आर लुकिंग फॉर समबडी इन दीज ज्योग्राफीज। So there, then you look into their policies, you look into your specialty, what you have been doing, what your experiences are. Basis that एक project identify करके, एक thematic area identify करके proposal बनाइए और submit कीजिए। RFP का यूजुअली फॉर्मेट भी शेयर करते हैं कॉर्पोरेट्स। अगर आप देखें ब्रॉडली दे आइडेंटिफाई कि क्या क्या चीजें होनी चाहिए, एंड यू हैव टू अबाइड बाय ऑल ऑफ देम। Whereas when you make a proposal, then there are certain areas that I'll be talking more about little later. Those areas you have to cover. Though the area I'm talking about are mostly part of RFPs also, but yes, these are broadly two things that are done. एक RFP मोड है, एक when you voluntarily अच्छा, सेकंड व्हेन दे से कि किसी भी एरिया में करो, थर्ड यू वॉलंटियरली गो। This is today again I was speaking to somebody, and she was talking about a very very sensitive topic. She was talking about a kurma ghar. These kurma ghars are in interiors of Maharashtra in certain regions, where girls, when they are on their menses, when they have their periods, they are not allowed to live in their houses. They have to go and live this in these kurma ghars. So even young girls, 12, 13-year-old girl and a lady who has just delivered a baby, a 3 months, 4 months old baby, or a lady with a small kid also has to go and stay there for 4, 5 days during their charms, during their periods. They have to go and stay there. they're dependent on other people to get food to them, to get water for them and everything. They're not allowed in the kitchens and everything. And these kurma ghars are in very bad shape. So condition is very bad. Proper toilets nahi hai, pani nahi hai, khana nahi hai, and all of that. So I was having good discussion with her that she was talking about one of the corporate, that whether they'll support me or not. So I said, see, the thought, the need is very much there. It's very much there. It is also aligns with the corporate's policy, where they say they are wanting to work on women empowerment or women upliftment, and all of that is also matching over there. But what the help she wanted was that she wants her to develop a community center over there. That is what the proposal was on, right? कि हम एक community center वहाँ बनाते हैं, और it would be like a place where these ladies can go and stay during during the time of their periods and all. But I said that ये ideology से match करेगा क्या? Maybe corporate में से कि हम इस प्रथा को बढ़ावा तो नहीं दे रहे इस पूरे process में. कॉर्पोरेट में से कि अगर हम ये कर रहे हैं और हमने ये करा और हमने ये बनाया, तो कहीं कहीं हम ये एनकरेज तो नहीं करें? आर वी नॉट एनकरेजिंग दिस सिस्टम? So this can be a detrimental fact. The corporate may not support you because of this. So I was having a good discussion with her. She then said that, again, her point was very valid, that, ma'am, all of a sudden we can't stop it. So let's go step by step. So I was helping her in developing that proposal, that how to pitch it to the corporate, how you can pitch it to the corporate. Maybe in these centers, apart from where these ladies can come and stay, you can also have a skill development center, a center where the ladies of the village, they can come and they can read, or you can train them on some, you can create SHG groups or something like that. Maybe part of them can be done that. So we were discussing about the various aspects. But what my point over here is, you have to be very clear that whether corporate will support this kind of projects or not, and whether they are willing to take it up or not. So coming back to the topic that I was in, that they are basically, why do you prepare a proposal, or how do you start building it? Either there is an RFP, or there is a requirement from the corporate, or you think there is some area which actually need to be addressed. So there you prepare a proposal, and then you reach out to the corporates, right? David, do you want to share something, ask something? Please go ahead while I'm sharing my screen. David, you have raised your hand.
Yeah, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, no, just to prior slides that you mentioned about the size of the leadership and the size of the HR. So, do you have any number? Because, our organization, we have almost more than 500 employees on the payroll, beside consultants and daily wages. So, when we put a proposal together, is there a size of the HR? I'm just curious to know about any
Okay.
number that you're talking about. Like, let's just say 100 employees, then certain number of HR should be there. So that can really help us.
No, there is no fixed size as such. As I said, more than 60% of the NGOs, their size is less than 50. So when I say profile, it is of the leadership profile I'm talking about. Maybe about your board of directors, who is the CEO, who is taking care of the projects. So the leadership profile has to go. Okay. Now again, if you are a very, very big organization, I'm sure you would have various verticals also that you're working in. So if you're looking for an environmental project, so maybe you can share the profile of the leadership of the environmental department who is taking care of it. Apart from your board of directors, you can share their details over here. HR size is just the number of employees that you have with you. You may not mention their names and their details and all of that over here then, right?
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Now moving ahead. So we started from a proposal. There are two components. One is the organization profile, which we discussed, and second, we come to the project proposal. What are the important components of a project proposal? First of all, as we begin, we'll share the details of the organization that are there. What is the name of the organization, their details, mail ID, address, and all of that. That goes without saying. And in that table, you can share the checklist. But prior to that, you should have your executive summary ready. your executive summary, or you may also call it a concept note. So many a time when we mail them, it's better to have a concept note first or your executive summary, or even if it can be part of the proposal also. Because nobody has time to go through 7, 8, 10 pages of proposal at one go. The executive summary would help them understand which area we are talking about, what is the need. So it has to be very crisp, 400, 500 words maximum, where you tell them what you want to do, where you want to do, what is the budget you're looking for, and what is the impact you're looking to create. Just 4, 5 things in 7, 8, 10 sentences, that's it. So it has to be very, very crisp. The executive summary or the concept note, which can tell them about the project, that what it is all about. Then you define the problem statement. What is the problem? What is the need? Need assessment, again, is a very important component of all the projects. Need assessment, you may have done yourself. It can be based on secondary research. It may be because somebody has, DC has raised such kind of request. So I'll go with the same example, this Kurma Ghar thing that I was talking to you just before this. So I asked her that, do you have any supporting documents? Can you get it from the DC? She said, DC is a female. And she agrees that we need to improvise the condition, we need to do something for them. And this community center or hall or some kind of hostel or something, if we can make something like that, that can actually help them. So I said, can you get that letter from the DC also? She said, yes, she'll be more than happy to give it to us and we can get that. So this also can be part of your need assessment, that, okay, you have got a letter from the government body where they say such kind of need do exist. And again, you can do your own research, or maybe the corporate also might do some kind of need assessment. So this problem statement should be there, right? Going ahead, what are the goals and the objectives that you are looking forward to? In fact, again, instead of going through this, I'll just share a document. I think that will be more helpful to all of you. So see, I'm a very format wala person, I just go do, always, when I take session, or I also learn a lot, I take a lot of, attend a lot of programs. So I always say कि मैट्रिसेस दो, फॉर्मेट दो, कहानियां मत सुना, मुझे बताओ करना कैसे है. So I think I have actually tried to do that, to give you some kind of format, to give you some kind of understanding कि आप कैसे कर सकते हो. You may have your own format. Many NGOs have their own format. Many RFPs, when they are raised, the corporate also give them their own format. In fact, ये जो format मैं आपसे share करूँ, ये भी किसी corporate का ही था. कुछ साल पहले हमने लिया होगा, कुछ काम किया होगा उनके साथ, and then it became a part of my document. So I just hope this is helpful for you. But this is again कोई गवर्नमेंट सर्टिफाइड फॉर्मेट नहीं है कि एमसीए ने कहा है कि ऐसे ही करना है. So, but yes, this is one of the formats, I think, which broadly covers everything which was there in this slide. So I thought of sharing with you. So going ahead, this is the proposal format I was talking about. कि आप project title देंगे, name of partner, कब submit किया, about the organization, everything we discussed and that table. You should be submitting it over here. Okay. Every detail about the organization should go in your proposal. Then there you should have a statement of purpose. The statement of purpose is basically why. What is the need assessment? Again, don't make it very big. 4 page का कि बहुत जरूरत है. Okay, just 200 words should be enough. If you have some government letter or something, write along with it that it's attached as an annexure. We have a letter from this person, or a recommendation from so and so person, that can be part of your annexure, right? But you should mention it over here, that why do you need this? What is the problem? So problem statement should come here. Statement of purpose is basically the problem statement. Ki problem kya hai, need kya hai. That should come at the very beginning after your executive summary. Then what is it that you're trying to achieve? What are the project objectives and goals that I'm trying to do over here? Suppose I go with the same kind of project, skilling of women. So I can say what I am going to do, why, what, when, where, and who has to be at this. कहाँ करना चाह रहे हैं, किसके लिए करना चाह रहे हैं, क्या करना चाह रहे हैं. तो broadly 4-5 statements में आप define कीजिए. You're trying to empower women, you're trying to increase employability of the women, you're trying to enhance the financial independence of the women. So these things has to come here. Which area in geographical area वहां पे करना चाह रहे हैं आप. So these objectives and goals should come at the very beginning. They'll set the premise for your entire proposal. Then who are your beneficiaries? right? Are they from the marginalized sector, female, male, young children? Who are they? Maybe you're working for environment. I may be working for environment and I feel कि बहुत जरूरी है, water tables have gone down or water restoration is being needed over here. Health conditions बहुत खराब है, sanitation का project है. So whatever it is, you'll define it in your problem statement, and then who are the beneficiaries who are going to be impacted by this. So you should mention about the direct as well as the indirect beneficiary. Here again, I have seen many a times हम बहुत ज्यादा एस्केलेट करके बताते हैं कि अगर हमने ये वाटर बॉडी करा तो 4 लाख, 3 लाख, 2 लाख लोगों को टच करने वाले हैं, गांव में 50,000 लोग हैं, सारे 50,000 लोग इससे इम्पैक्टेड होने वाले हैं. बी लिटिल रैशनल over here. Don't over promise. Don't over promise. Corporate is very very minutely looking into your proposal over here. Who are your direct beneficiary? For example, skill development project, the females, and indirectly you're going to impact their families also. So maybe you can mention about them also. And then if you feel some other kind of impact they're going to create, some other people are going to be affected by it, you might write about them. But be very specific again. Don't escalate these numbers. Which target village you are working at, and is it quantifiable? Some work may be quantifiable, some may not be quantifiable, but you should be mentioning about all of that. Now, what is the strategy that you're going to take up? So what are the activities I'm going to take up for skilling of women? What are the activities I'll be doing? I'll be setting up a community center. I'll be enrolling them for the course. I'll be hiring the teachers. I'll be tying up with some certification body, maybe NSTC or something. I'll be helping them out with the placements at the end. And maybe I'll help them with the loans in the case they need it, if I'm going to do any of these. So these strategies should be mentioned over here. So we are gradually developing what we are talking about. Now, here comes a proposed human resource. As somebody was just asking me, David, I believe, was asking me that their size is 500. क्योंकि 500 लोगों का detail देंगे नहीं. हम यहाँ people who are associated with this project, who will be taking care of this project, we'll be mentioning about them. Who are the people? If I'm working on a water body, so if I have somebody from my own organization who has expertise in this, I'll be sharing their details. Of course, details of my CEO would go over here. People who are working with us on this project, it will go over here. But maximum 4, 5, 6 profiles you should share, and just you may mention the number of people that are involved with you, or you may also give a write-up that as per the need, once the project is approved, you may hire more volunteers or you may hire more consultants for this particular project, and you can mention it over here. In fact, you should mention it over here because you may not have those kind of capabilities. अगर मैं किसी particular गांव में जाके कोई skill center करने वाली तो I'll be hiring people from there, right? I may hire a trainer from there. So these things can be mentioned over here, that how do you propose to do it? Then comes something which is in technical terms known as theory of change or log frame, which talks about कि आपकी inputs क्या जाएंगी, activities क्या करने वाले हैं आप, these activities are the inputs, उसका output क्या आने वाला है, outcomes क्या आने वाले हैं, अब indicators क्या हैं. To give you an example, if I have, again, I'll go with the same example, skilling example. So what will be the activity that I'll be taking? I'll be taking classes for them. So what are the activities? Number one, classes will be taken. Teachers would be recruited for that, right? So teachers are the inputs. The classes that are conducted are the input over here. What will be the output? Output can be qualitative as well as quantitative. The output will be a number of classes the girls attended, number of students that attended the classes, the areas on which they were trained. These can be the outputs over here. Certification that they gain, how many girls are certified at the end of the program, maybe an output. An outcome can be something like if a placement drive was being done, how many of these girls are placed now? How many of them are working now? What is the change in their behavior, in their attitude from the day they joined and when they passed out the program? So maybe they're not working now, but if there's any change in attitude, change in behavior, maybe it was a skilling center where I taught them about sewing, stitching, and all of that. And they started working from their own houses. They started their own boutique, or maybe not even a boutique, घर से बैठ के काम करना शुरू कर दिया, आसपास का काम लेना शुरू करके. That can also be an outcome, right? What are the measurable indicators? So for classes, my attendance can be an indicator. For placement, the job can be an indicator. Their salary can be an indicator. So you have to identify all of them at the very beginning in the proposal stage. Again, it will come from the need assessment. मेरी need क्या थी? जरूरत क्या थी, उसको टैकल करने के लिए मुझे क्या क्या एक्टिविटीज करनी पड़ेंगी। जब मैं एक्टिविटीज करूंगी तो वो ऑब्जेक्टिव्स को मैं अचीव करूंगी, जिनकी मैंने ऊपर बात की है कि ये मेरे ऑब्जेक्टिव्स होने वाले, इनको अचीव करने के लिए ये इंडिकेटर्स फुलफिल करने होंगे मुझे। और अगर ये बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट है तो बाद में इसका इम्पैक्ट असेसमेंट भी हो सकता है, वो भी इन्हीं इंडिकेटर्स के बेसिस में होगा। सो अगेन, बी वेरी रैशनल, बी वेरी ट्रांसपेरेंट, आप क्या कर रहे हैं, क्या लिख रहे हैं, शुड बी ऑल डूएबल, write all those things over here. Now what is your implementation frame? ये डिटेल में आएगा फिर कि हम कैसे करेंगे, हम मोबिलाइज करेंगे, हम सेटअप करेंगे। सो व्हाट आर द प्रोसेसेस यू आर गोइंग टू फॉलो? मे बी इन दिस 1 year I'm going to run 3 batches. So how am I going to work with each of the batch? What is the procedure I'm going to follow over here? All of those detail. My Gantt chart will come here. My theory of change will come here. Gantt chart is something जो बताता है कि स्टेप बाय स्टेप हम कैसे काम करने वाले हैं, फर्स्ट 2 months में क्या होगा, थर्ड एंड फोर्थ मंथ में क्या होगा। So step by step, when you define all of that, that would come in your Gantt chart. Further, what are the monitoring evaluation framework that you'll be following? कॉर्पोरेट के अपने फ्रेमवर्क्स भी हो सकते हैं, अगर कॉर्पोरेट के हैं तो ऑफ कोर्स यू हैव टू फॉलो देम, बट यू शुड आल्सो हैव योर ओन फ्रेमवर्क्स दैट हाउ आर यू गोइंग टू असेस ऑल ऑफ दिस, what kind of reports you're going to submit to the corporate, quarterly report देने वाले हैं, weekly report, monthly reports, क्या reports जाएंगी, pictures जाएंगी, videos जाएंगी, what are the documents you are willing to submit. So maybe you can talk about all of that here little कि आप कैसे monitor करते हैं इन सारी चीजों को. What are the timelines? These are very important, project deliverables and timelines. Again, वापस से याद कीजिए, ऑनगोइंग प्रोजेक्ट को भी याद ध्यान में रखते हुए हम ये टाइमलाइंस डिफाइन करेंगे और डिलीवरेबल्स भी डिफाइन करेंगे। एंड ऑफ कोर्स इफ इट इज विद इन द ईयर देन आल्सो दिस इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट आप कैसे डिफाइन करेंगे। सो दिस इज जस्ट वन ऑफ द एग्जाम्पल कि इस केस में 10% एमओयू के समय में पेमेंट होगी, 20% ऑन such and such deliverables, 30% on so and so deliverables. It may change. Suppose I am into अगेन स्किलिंग सेंटर है, अगर मुझे स्किलिंग सेंटर भी सेटअप करना है, सो आई मे नीड 40-50% एक्सपेंडिचर एट द वेरी बिगनिंग बिकॉज दैट इज द मेजर कॉस्ट दैट आई विल बी बियरिंग, राइट? ट्रेनिंग कॉस्ट उतना नहीं है इस पर्टिकुलर केस में, सेटिंग अप ऑफ द स्किलिंग सेंटर इज अ बिगर कॉस्ट फॉर मी। अगर मैं रेंट पे ले रही हूँ तो वो तो मंथली कॉस्ट हो जाएगा, तो फिर अगेन डिपेंडिंग ऑन दैट आई कैन टॉक अबाउट द पेमेंट्स दैट आई वुड नीड फ्रॉम देम, बट आई एम सेटिंग अप वन सेंटर, माई कॉस्ट में गो अप ओवर हियर। I would need more people, I need more consultant at the very beginning, my cost may go up over here. So depending on the kind of project, depending on the kind of expenditures that I'll be having, I will decide all of this. So basis that, but this I'm sharing so that you define your payment terms also at the very beginning. What are you looking forward to? What is your budget that you're looking forward to? And what are the milestones that you're going to achieve, So all of that should be here. At the proposal stage, your budget may not be very detailed and well defined. Broadly, आप उसको define कर सकते हैं कि आपका कहाँ कहाँ कितना खर्च होने वाला है, total cost of project कितना होने वाला है, total duration of project कितना होने वाला है, if it is a multi-year project, हर साल आपको कितना आप project कर रहे हैं कि आएगा आपका expenditure. So that should be broadly defined over here. Each and every line item need not be here, but don't forget to include your admin cost. Don't forget to include your monitoring evaluation cost. Don't forget your travel cost and all of that. So broadly, you should mention all of that at the very beginning itself. Then comes your sustainability plan or the exit strategy. With the change that has happened that after 4 years, every project has to come to an end after 4 years. Corporates have become very serious about the exit strategy or the sustainability plan. कि जब हम निकल जाएंगे तो ये प्रोजेक्ट का क्या होगा, तो ये कैसे सस्टेन करने वाला है, अगर मैं ऐसे चीज बना रही हूँ तो क्या ऐसे चीज जो है सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप सब तक सस्टेनेबल हो जाएंगे, विल दे बी एबल टू सर्वाइव ऑन देयर ओन, the project I am doing, will it survive on its own even after I leave? So what is the exit strategy? That should be very well mentioned over here. That how do you plan them to go? So environmental projects हो गए, या जैसे मैं एक बड़ा सिंपल सा एग्जांपल देती हूँ आपको अभी, one of the corporate in metro cities, they were asked to donate some medical equipments, some machineries they were asked to give, some kind of machineries, x-ray machine and MRI machines and all of that were required in the hospital, and a proposal came to them. So now they said that, okay, this is a MRI machine and X-rays and all of them. And the cost was around 50 lakh or something like that. They said, okay, we can do this. But how are you going to work on the operations piece? There has to be annual maintenance contract. AMCs have to be done for these machines because these are very, very expensive machine and they need AC conditions and all of that has to be followed over there. So who's going to take care of that? So these were the discussions they had with the hospital that will government, it was a government hospital. So is government ready to bear that cost? कि एएमसी का जो भी कॉस्ट आएगा या मेंटेनेंस का जो भी कॉस्ट आएगा या डेली रनिंग के जो भी उनके कॉस्ट है वर्किंग के जो भी कॉस्ट है बिकॉज दे वुड नीड medicines gauze cotton and all of that and change overalls and all of that would be required. So who's going to bear that? Because I'll give you the machine if you'll not maintain it, if it's not being used properly, so then there's no point of it, right? So similarly, we have seen in the past in various states where ambulances were donated by the corporate, but वो junk में खड़े हैं. वो हमने COVID time से बहुत सारे ऐसे examples आए थे. I don't know if anyone of you remember from various states. I have not named the state, but from various states it came that the ambulances were standing in the junk because there was nobody to pay for the petrol for them. उनका maintenance नहीं हुआ था, उनका annual insurance कोई नहीं कर रहा था. Corporate ने दे दिया ambulance. Initial first year में everything was being done, but further, every year the insurance for the vehicles has to be done, which goes into thousands or something. I'm not sure how much for the ambulances, but yes, I'm sure it goes into thousands. So nobody was doing that, and so these ambulances were not in the running condition. And at the time when country needed them, they were not there for us. So corporates are very particular about it. That what is your exit strategy over here? Going further, there are certain points like अगर construction का है तो as I said कि capital asset अगर आपने create किया है तो किसके थ्रू करेंगे आप, आपका वेंडर अगर कोई थर्ड पार्टी वेंडर आप लेके आ रहे हैं तो उसके डिटेल्स देने होंगे. कैपिटल एसेट्स किसके पास जाएंगे प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट होने के बाद? मैंने ये बना दिया कि सेंटर बना दिया, आफ्टर द कंप्लीशन ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट्स किसको हैंड ओवर होगा? ये एनजीओ के पास जाएगा, गवर्नमेंट बॉडी के पास जाएगा, पब्लिक अथॉरिटी के पास जाएगा, बेनिफिशरीज के पास जाएगा? वेयर इज इट गोइंग टू गो? So that also has to be defined at the very beginning. I'll just go back to the slide that we were taking. Okay. Then at the end, your after sustainability comes your budget that I was talking about. So detailed budget सेपरेट शीट में लगा के दीजिए, मे बी एज एन एनेक्स्चर भी आप दे सकते हैं. ब्रॉड बजट यहाँ पे दीजिए आपके मेन प्रपोजल में, और डिटेल बजट आप एज एनेक्स्चर भी दे सकते हैं. And as annexure, of course, all your documents, details, and all of them would go as part of the annexures. As we all know, एक बार proposal submission होता है, then there are negotiation, there are talks, the corporate may ask you for few other documents and other things which may follow this, right? So it's already 6:40. So I'll just take a break over here. That's all from my end, though, of course, there are so many things that goes into a proposal beyond this also. If you have any question, I'll be happy to take them.
Yeah. Udit has a question.
Yes, Udit.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
First of all, thank you so much for such a wonderful session. It was really a knowledge-driven session for me.
Thank you, Udit.
Ma'am, I was asking this key, is there any example of a proposal that you were having so we can refer to that? Matlab, this was a format, right? Is there any official kind of proposal?
Okay, there are a lot, but I won't be able to share the proposal. If you understand, it can be conflict of interest with the corporates. I'll see कोई पुराना हो, अगर 4-5 साल पुराना, if I have something, I'll see to it. But because when we work with the corporates, there is this confidentiality element is always there. So तभी मैंने कहा मैंने format share करा आपसे. अगर आप RFPs भी download कीजिए, all of you should download the RFPs, which you see, you qualify, you don't qualify. That's a different thing, But you should look at, like, I also take sessions with college going students and all of them who are aspiring to be consultants with Big Four and all of them. मैं उनसे भी कहती हूँ कि उनका ना वो डाउनलोड करो. आप आज क्वालिफाई नहीं करे पर देखो वो क्या क्या मांग रहे हैं वहां पे. What are the certification they're asking for? What are the areas they want you to be working in? So similarly, I'll ask all of you कि आप RFPs जरूर डाउनलोड करो जो corporates की आ रही हैं. अभी बहुत RFPs आएंगी because this is the quarter when they're coming up. They have unspent money left with them. And also from January, February onwards, they'll come up with a RFPs for the next financial year. So अभी से आप डाउनलोड करके उसको स्टडी करना शुरू करो कि what are the requirements that they have. Many a time they do share the format, most of the time. For example, HCL, I am saying HCL Foundation, the grant, uska format is there on their website. If you go to the foundation website, you will find the grant ka format. Similarly with other corporates also, you can get with them. तो वो आप डाउनलोड कर लो, स्टार्ट फिलिंग देम एंड सी वेयर डू यू लैक, कौन सी चीज हमारे पास आज नहीं है, स्टार्ट वर्किंग ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर एरिया and gradually you'll be able to build a good proposal for yourself.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, my second question is, what are the annual compliance requirement for an implementing agency? Can you please summarize it?
Annual compliance requirement from, so for that you have to go to your CA, क्योंकि taxation elements अलग होता है. अगर आप मुझसे CSR point of view से पूछेंगे तो मैं CSR में बताती हूँ आपको. अगर जब आप प्रोजेक्ट करते हैं तो आपको हर प्रोजेक्ट के एंड में एक यूटिलाइजेशन सर्टिफिकेट देना पड़ता है. Okay, what does that utilization certificate means? Suppose again I'll go with the same thing कि अंजू जी हमारी corporate and I am the NGO, she gives me 1 crore of rupees for a project. उन्होंने deliverables मैंने define करे हैं कि मैं इस 1 crore रुपए को कहाँ कहाँ खर्च करने वाली हूँ, right? For the skilling thing or for the development of the center and all of that. So at the end मैं उनको एक utilization certificate दूंगी जो मेरा CA certify करेगा, एनजीओ का सीए सर्टिफाई करेगा. उस ये जो सर्टिफिकेट होगा इसको हम उसमें उसका स्टैंप आएगा विद यूडिन नंबर, विच मीन्स अ यूनिक आइडेंटिटी नंबर, जो कि सीए सर्टिफिकेट का जो सर्टिफिकेशन है सीए अपने लाइसेंस के अगेंस्ट निकालता है ये नंबर, right? So there's a unique number which will be generated by the CA, with which he'll stamp on the utilization certificate and submit it to the corporate, saying that yes, this 1 crore of rupees has been spent as per approved as per the MOU, और जहां जहां हमने कहा था वहां वहां उस एरिया में स्पेंड हुआ है. So that is the major compliance element if I talk about at the end which has to be done. Besides, of course, मॉनिटरिंग और इवैल्यूएशन पैरामीटर्स जो होते हैं जो कॉर्पोरेट के साथ टाई अप होगा, जब एमओयू होगा तो कॉर्पोरेट विल आस्क यू फॉर पीरियोडिक रिव्यूज, फॉर पीरियोडिक सबमिशन ऑफ रिपोर्ट्स, ऑल ऑफ देम हैज टू बी डन ऑन अ टाइमली बेसिस. But otherwise, of course, there are a lot of other compliance requirement for any NGO, which I'll suggest you should ask your CA for. He is a better person to guide you on that.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Does this covers the area of MCA compliance as well?
Yes, 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 yes. एमसीए का तो देखो CSR फॉर्म 1 आपको करना है, सबसे पहले एमसीए कह रहा है, और बाकी जो क्वालिफिकेशन क्राइटेरियाज हैं वो तो वन टाइम ही है. 80G12 है, ये सब वन टाइम कंप्लायंसेस हैं. CSR फॉर्म 1 is also one time compliance that you have to do with them. And 3 years of mandatory registration has to be there. So these are the basic one-time compliances which are there. Beside that, utilization certificate is the only thing that a corporate asks for, कि आपका utilization certificate submit karna hai with a unique identity number, which is the UDIN number. It has to be submitted at the end. So for the CSR funding, this is what we need.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Anybody else? Are there some on the chat box?
There are a lot of questions in the chat box. However, I would say that we'll take up those questions and we'll send them to you, Dr. Surabhi Yadav, and probably reach out to these people with the answers that you send us. I would like to thank our esteemed speaker, Dr. Surabhi Yadav, for the invaluable insight and the expertise. Your clear explanations of the CSR frameworks, documentation required, the M&E plans, the best practices that have provided us with a comprehensive understanding of what it takes to create an impactful CSR proposal. Your practical tips, in fact, and the real world examples have really, truly inspired and empowered us. I am now going to invite our Chief Advisor, Air Marshal Retired VPS Rana, to give us a vote of thanks and speak to us with his encouraging words.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anjuji. Am I audible?
You are, sir.
Yeah, okay. Okay. A wonderful session, I must say, Dr. Surabhi. I think we all were looking forward for this. The very registration itself indicated that how much interest it had generated. This is, I think, the record number of registration that we've had, both in on Zoom as well as on YouTube, and it is a very far-reaching as far as this session was concerned, and very, very well conducted, I must say. I must compliment
Thank you,
you
sir. Thank you.
for taking it really, really, like Anjuji said, very, very practical inputs. They're very important from the perspective of the NGOs, particularly those who are new. But as we could gather from the discussion, and I know that there were a lot of people who are in this field for quite some time. They were I mean, they understand the subject very well, and the nature of questions indicated that they were really looking for those fine tips, despite being in the field for very long. So, and this is very first step when we really get engaged in this work and proposal making. And this is a real fine work. If your proposal is very well drafted, I'm sure there are very high chances that it will get accepted. And particularly the way you have told about the entire framework, the documentation, I think that would have helped our audiences really well. I really thank you for this really wonderful session. I'm sure we'll look forward for some more lively sessions from you. Also must thank our all the audiences. They've been stuck with us, and there's a record number. And like we said, there's still a lot of questions lying in the chat box. I'm sure we'll compile those and send it to you. For our NGOs who are there, our partners, the proposal making is a very crucial part. You should make proposals, not only make proposals and keep refining them. Like we may have made that proposal some time back, and like all of us do, we send those proposals to very many corporates. Identifying the right corporate is another key. There's one very important point Surabhi talked about is that there are so many others other than the well-known big corporate houses. There are so many more people who are, wanting to do, and so we must look for these people in and around our geographic location, and make sure that we approach them. But again, a good proposal, very convincing proposal is the key, and therefore we should keep refining that proposal every time we give it to the new corporate, we give it to the new partner. We should keep refining that proposal. Administrative overhead is another very important point that Dr. Surabhi talked about. Generally, we mistake this 5% in our proposal making, that this is the restricting point, but it's not so. But she very aptly talked about that this 5% restriction is for the corporates. But nevertheless, we should not go overboard on this, because there are most of the time, this is the one at which most of the negotiations that takes place between the corporate and but so we have to have a very good understanding of this, that what and how much is it that we need to put in there. And Darpan portal registration is another very important point, and though not necessary, not mandated legally, but I'm sure most of the corporates and are now looking for your registration. So those of you who haven't done it, kindly get that through. Last point I wanted to make is, somebody asked for generic and example of proposal. It's my request to Dr. Surabhi that maybe you can make an imaginary kind of proposal, basically talking about, I mean, it need not be specific to a corporate and an NGO, but in a way that it gives you the entire the framework, that what all should be needed and how and where it should be put. So maybe that will help them. It need not be a very this thing. So maybe something
Sure.
that can be done. The last, I must thank Anjuji for wonderful presentation and conduct of this session. I'm sure she has worked a lot along with Just and a lot of our team members. The background, it doesn't it is never easy to get so many people on board and then do it. But I'm so happy that this time our number has really been encouraging, and I'm sure we will be now. This has been a little longish gap in our webinars. I promise all our viewers and audiences here that we will be now more regular on this, and the time gap with the next webinar is going to be lesser. This gives us the opportunity to connect with our partners, and this is one of our, the important platform to connect with all our partners in the complete Himalayan ecosystem and otherwise as well. And there's a lot of people not necessarily related to Himalayas are also included, those who are working anywhere else. And so our team is working all over India and also beyond. So we would like to connect with all you people on a very regular basis. So I thank you all, those who are here and those who have, I think because of the longest session, had left a little early. And if whatever is there, we will take these questions, and then whatever is needed to be communicated to you all, we'll do that. Thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all
Thank
of
you,
you for
Rana
the
sir.
participation.
Thank you, Rana sir. Before we take leave, I'm deeply grateful to all the participants for your active engagements and enthusiasm today. Your questions and your interactions and your shared experiences really enriched today's discussion and made this session even more meaningful. I'm sure, and I encourage everyone to apply this knowledge, especially the HUM partners that we have gained today, to create proposals not only to secure funding, but also to drive meaningful and sustainable change. Let us continue to collaborate and innovate to make a positive impact. Thank you so much for joining us today once again.
Thank you.
Look forward to connecting with you in future again.
Ma'am, the
Thank you very
feedback form
much.
is not,
Thank you very much.
hello, ma'am, the
Sure.
Yeah.
feedback form is not accepting the responses.
Okay.
Okay. We'll look into that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Stay
Thank you, everyone.
inspired and stay impactful, everybody. Bye.